Good day, everyone. I'd like to start by expressing my heartfelt gratitude to the International Institute of Knowledge Management for this wonderful opportunity to share my insights on the vital topic of peer review in scientific communication. I also want to extend a special thank you to all the participants for your time and engagement. Your presence today reflects your commitment to advancing the scientific community. And I look forward to exploring how we, as researchers and academics, can improve the peer review process to ensure more effective and credible scientific progress. Next slide. Just 5 days ago, I marked a meaningful milestone in my academic journey when the Web of Science recognized me for completing 200 full manuscript reviews across 33 international journals. As of today, that number has grown to 227. This experience has given me a deep appreciation for the critical role that peer review plays in ensuring the integrity, quality, and advancement of scientific knowledge. Drawing from this background, I am honored to share with you insights and reflections on the vital contribution of peer review to the scientific community. So, where do we begin? We first need to define what peer review is. Next slide. Peer review is a formal process in which experts in a particular field evaluate the quality, validity, and relevance of a researcher's work before it is published. This process involves critical assessment of the research design, methodology, analysis, and conclusions to ensure the work meets established academic and scientific standards. By having qualified peers examine the work, the process acts as a filter that prevents flawed or unsubstantiated research from entering the body of scientific knowledge, thereby maintaining the credibility and integrity of scholarly communication. Also, we have to define what scientific communication is. Next slide. Scientific communication refers to the methods and practices through which researchers share their findings with the broader scientific community and the public. This includes publishing in academic journals, presenting at conferences, so it's not just publishing in journals, and disseminating information through reports or digital platforms. Effective scientific communication not only makes research accessible, but also encourages dialogue, replication, and the advancement of knowledge across disciplines. Peer review plays a central role in this process by acting as a gatekeeper, ensuring that the information communicated is accurate, ethical, and valuable to the field. So, what is the purpose of this session? Next slide. The purpose of this lesson is to help participants understand the crucial role that peer review plays in maintaining the quality and trustworthiness of scientific literature. By exploring the process, its benefits, challenges, and evolving practices, participants will develop a deeper appreciation for how knowledge is vetted and validated in academic contexts. The lesson aims to equip learners with the ability to critically engage with research, understand the responsibilities of reviewers, and recognize the peer review system as a foundation of credible scientific communication. Let's have next the importance of peer review in scientific research. And we have lined up three. Next slide. So how important is the peer review? The first one that we have is ensuring accuracy and credibility of findings. Peer review serves as a quality control mechanism that ensures the accuracy and credibility of research findings before they are shared with the scientific community and the public. By having research subject matter experts critically evaluate the research methodology, data analysis, and conclusions, errors and weaknesses can be identified and corrected early on. This vetting process gives credibility to the final published work, as it has undergone rigorous scrutiny and refinement, building trust among researchers, institutions, and policymakers who rely on reliable scientific evidence. We have experienced passing abstract for a presentation in a conference, and there the evaluation is needed so that there will be a giving of suggestions towards the refinement of the presentation to be shown to the public. The next importance, next slide, preventing the spread of misinformation. In a time when information spreads rapidly, especially through digital platforms, peer review helps prevent the dissemination of flawed or misleading scientific claims. By subjecting research to careful examination before publication or presentation, the process filters out studies that lack sufficient evidence, use improper methods, or make exaggerated conclusions. This safeguards the public and the scientific community from adopting false information that could lead to poor decisions in fields like healthcare, technology, and environmental policy. Ultimately, peer review acts as a barrier against misinformation entering the academic record. And the third we have on the list, next slide, upholding ethical standards in research. Peer review also plays a crucial role in upholding ethical standards by ensuring that research practices align with established guidelines regarding data integrity, plagiarism, authorship, and the treatment of human or animal subjects. Reviewers are trained to spot ethical red flags and can recommend rejection or revisions if a study falls short of ethical norms. This scrutiny promotes accountability and reinforces the responsibility of researchers to conduct their work honestly and transparently, protecting both research subjects and the scientific enterprise from harm or reputational damage. So, which of the three importance do you like the most? So, all of them gives us a something like overview of why peer review is needed. Now, this next phase of our session is interesting because it will show us the steps in peer review process. Next slide. On the right side of the slide, we have something like a map that guides us on the 6 steps on peer review. So let's have the first one. Of course, there needs to be a submission of research manuscript. The peer review process begins when a researcher submits their completed manuscript to a scholarly journal for consideration. This manuscript typically includes the research objectives, methodology, results, analysis, and conclusions, along with references and supporting data. At this stage, the author's work officially enters the publication pipeline, where it will be evaluated for both scientific merit and relevance to the journal's scope. This submission marks the first step toward validation and dissemination of new knowledge. So after that, of course, the second step, next slide, we have the initial editorial screening. So it will not yet go to the peer reviewer. After submission, the journal's editorial team conducts an initial screening to determine whether the manuscript meets basic requirements. This includes checking for plagiarism, ensuring that formatting and referencing styles are correct, and confirming that the topic aligns with the journal's aims. If the manuscript passes this preliminary check, it is moved forward for peer review. If not, it may be rejected outright or returned to the author for minor revisions. This step helps filter out unsuitable or substandard submissions early in the process. I would like to ask for a moment of halt. I would like to open the ventilation for a while. I hope that the ventilation doesn't interfere with the quality of the sound coming out to the other end of our meet. Am I still audible just like a while ago? Okay, seems that I am still audible. Okay, thank you. So we have discussed the first two steps. We have the submission of research manuscript and then the initial editorial screening. Here comes the assignment to reviewers, and that is the third step. Next slide. Thank you. Once the manuscript clears the editorial screening, it is assigned to two or more experts in the relevant field. These reviewers, often researchers or academics, are selected for their knowledge and experience in the topic area. They agree to evaluate the manuscript's strengths and weaknesses confidentially and objectively. Reviewer selection is critical as their expertise ensures fair and informed evaluation of the research work. Next slide, we have the fourth step in the peer review process, reviewer evaluation and feedback. The reviewers carefully analyze the manuscript, assessing its originality, methodology, validity of results, clarity of presentation, and contribution to the field. They provide detailed comments, identify errors or inconsistencies, and may suggest improvements or additional experiments. Their feedback includes a recommendation, typically accept, revise, or reject, which guides the editor in making a publication decision. This phase is the heart of the paper review process and determines the scientific rigor of the work. Have you experienced your manuscript being accepted? How about asking for it to be revised or probably being rejected? Well, I have experienced all these three decisions of the peer reviewer. I have experienced being accepted, revised, being rejected. So if we have participants here who can relate, I have experienced all of those three um, decision of the peer reviewer and the um, editor. Now we go to the fifth step. Next slide. Revisions and resubmission. Based on the reviewer's comments, the author is usually asked to revise the manuscript to address concerns or incorporate suggestions. These revisions may be minor, such as clarifying terms, or major, like reanalyzing data or rewriting sections. After making the changes, the author resubmits the manuscript, often with a response letter explaining how each reviewer comment was addressed. This iterative process helps refine the research and improve the overall quality of the paper. And finally, the last step, next slide, final decision and publication. Following the resubmission, the editor makes the final decision. This could be acceptance, further revision, or rejection. If accepted, the manuscript proceeds to the production stage where it is edited, formatted, and scheduled for publication. Once published, the article becomes part of the scientific record, accessible, accessible to the academic community and the public. This final step completes the peer review cycle and validates the research as a credible contribution to the field. Now we have all the steps in the peer review process. But there are different types of peer review, and this is also an interesting part of our discussion. And we have three that we prepared in our slide. The first one, let's have the first type of peer review. Next slide. First is the single blind review. In a single blind review, the identities of the reviewers are kept anonymous, but the author's identity is known to the reviewers. So he can see the author's name, the institution, and probably the email address. This type of peer review allows reviewers to provide honest and critical feedback without fear of backlash or conflict, as their identity is protected. However, since the reviewers know who the author is, there is a risk of bias, especially if the author is a well-known figure or from a prestigious institution. Despite this limitation, single blind review remains a commonly used model in many scientific disciplines. The next one, trickier than the first one. Next slide. The double blind review. Double blind review takes anonymity a step further by concealing both the reviewers and the author's identities. This system helps minimize bias related to the author's reputation, gender, institution, or nationality. Reviewers focus solely on the quality and content of the manuscript, promoting a more objective evaluation. While it strengthens fairness, implementing true anonymity can be challenging, especially in small research communities where work can be easily recognized based on topic or writing style. The last type of peer review, next slide, the open peer review. Open peer review promotes transparency by revealing the identities of both the reviewers and the authors, and in some cases, publishing the reviewers' comments alongside the article. This method fosters accountability, encourages respectful and constructive feedback, and allows the academic community to engage more deeply with the review process. I have experienced one time browsing some information, and then I have seen my name being shown in the internet, Google, that I have been part of reviewing this article. So they are open to the public with regards to who had given assistance towards the publication of that paper. And sometimes they put there the date of submission, date of resubmission, date of publication. So all of those stuff are part of open peer review. However, some reviewers may be hesitant to provide frank criticism under open review, particularly when reviewing the work of senior colleagues or collaborators. Still, open review is gaining popularity as part of broader efforts to increase openness in scientific communication. There you go. The three types of peer review. We have the single blind review, double blind review, and the open peer review. All of them has advantage and disadvantages, strengths and weaknesses. Now, as we discuss those things, somehow we have learned about the role of peer reviewers. But the next part of our session will dig deeper into it. So next slide. Let's go to the role of peer reviewers. Responsibilities of a peer reviewer. Peer reviewers play a crucial role in maintaining the quality and credibility of scientific research. Maybe some of our participants are already reviewers. How about others probably are aspiring to be a reviewer one of these days? Their primary responsibility is to critically assess submitted manuscripts for accuracy, clarity, methodology, originality, and relevance to the field. They are expected to provide objective, constructive, and timely feedback that helps authors improve their work. Reviewers also flag ethical issues such as plagiarism or data manipulation and advise editors on the suitability of a manuscript for publication. Ultimately, peer reviewers serve as gatekeepers of scientific integrity, helping ensure only high quality research enters the scholarly record. How about the criteria for evaluating a research paper? The next slide would not give us a specific criteria, but somehow would give us a general view of it. When reviewing a manuscript, peer reviewers evaluate several key elements to determine the study's overall merit. These criteria typically include the clarity of the research question, appropriateness of the methodology, validity and reliability of the results, strength of the conclusions, and alignment with existing literature. Reviewers also assess whether the paper is well structured, logically presented, and written in a clear and scholarly manner. Each of these components is essential for judging whether the study contributes meaningful and trustworthy insights to its academic field. A while ago, I said that some of our participants may be aspiring to be one of the reviewers one of these days, or probably if not, this session is giving us the appreciation of what the reviewer is doing in our manuscript and or in our submitted abstract for a certain conference. How about the ethical considerations in peer review? Next slide. So there are also ethical considerations in peer review as there are ethical considerations in doing research. Ethical conduct is fundamental in peer review. I guess the slide needs to go back one step backward. Thank you so much. Ethical reviewers must treat manuscripts as confidential documents and avoid using any of the information for personal advantage. Like when we are given a certificate and we want to somehow um, put it in social media for our own storage. Sometimes we can use social media as our storage for future documents. We need to hide the author's name, like and also the title of the manuscript that we have reviewed, enough for us to have the um, the the certificate being kept in our Facebook page properly. So they should decline reviews, and also other ethical consideration. They should decline reviews when there is a conflict of interest, such as reviewing competitors' work or that of a close colleague, which could affect their impartiality. Additionally, they are expected to remain professional and respectful in their critics, avoiding personal bias and overly harsh language. Upholding these ethical standards ensures fairness in the review process and maintains trust in the scholarly publishing system. Now we go to the challenges and limitations of peer review. So we also experience challenges as peer reviewer. The first one, bias in the review process. This is one challenge. One of the most significant criticisms of peer review is the presence of bias. Despite efforts to ensure objectivity, reviewers may be influenced by factors such as the author's institution, nationality, gender, or research topic. These biases can lead to unfair evaluations, with some manuscripts receiving undue favor while others are dismissed prematurely. Bias can also manifest in disciplinary gatekeeping, where reviewers resist ideas that challenge traditional perspectives. While double blind reviews aim to minimize such issues, no system is entirely immune to personal or systemic bias. Second, challenges and limitations. We have time constraints and delays in publication. Next slide. Peer review can be a time consuming process, often causing significant delays in the publications of research findings. Reviewers, who typically volunteer their time without compensation, may take weeks or even months to complete evaluations, especially when balancing other professional responsibilities. In fast moving fields, this slug can hinder the timely dissemination of important discoveries. The bottleneck created by review delays can also be discouraging for early career researchers eager to build their academic reputations. And last challenge and limitation. Next slide. We have potential for gatekeeping and suppression of novel ideas. While peer reviews is intended to uphold quality, it can sometimes function as a barrier to innovation. Reviewers who strongly adhere to established paradigms may reject unconventional methods or groundbreaking findings that deviate from mainstream thinking. This gatekeeping effect can stifle scientific progress by discouraging risk taking and limiting the diversity of ideas published in reputable journals. Recognizing and addressing this limitation is essential to fostering a more inclusive and forward thinking research culture. Now, if we have challenges and limitations, what do we now do? So, the next presentation would be tackling about improving the peer review system. Next slide. So how do we move on with those challenges and limitations? How do we battle them? So the first one is enhancing transparency in the process. Increasing transparency in peer review is a growing priority to address concerns about bias, fairness, and accountability. Some journals now publish reviewers' comments alongside the articles, disclose editorial decisions, or even share the review history of the manuscript, just like what I am sharing a while ago. These practices help demystify the process and build trust among authors, reviewers, and readers. Transparency also encourages more thoughtful and responsible feedback as reviewers know their evaluations may be publicly accessible or associated with their names. Next slide. The next way of improving the peer review system is by encouraging constructive criticism. For peer review to be truly effective, feedback must go beyond pointing out flaws. It should also offer guidance for improvement. Encouraging constructive criticism means fostering a culture in which reviewers provide specific, respectful, and actionable suggestions. This approach supports the growth of both the manuscript and the researcher, particularly for early career scientists who benefit from mentorship like reviews. Constructive peer feedback turns the process into a collaborative effort that enhances scientific quality rather than simply policing it. And another way of improving the peer review system, next slide, is by incorporating technological advances like AI and open access platforms. The integration of technology into the peer review process offers exciting opportunities to increase efficiency and reduce human error. Artificial intelligence tools can assist editors by checking for plagiarism, verifying citations, and even providing preliminary assessments of methodology or statistical soundness. I myself is using AI to initially assess the manuscript submitted to me, and then I go on with my personal work as a peer reviewer with regards to the manuscript. Additionally, aside from AI, open access platforms and preprint servers allow researchers to share findings more rapidly and receive broader feedback from the scientific community before formal peer review. Like, for example, ResearchGate, it allows the uploading of manuscript as preprints and also SSRN. So that's examples of open access platforms. While these innovations can't replace human judgment, they can comprehend it, helping to complement it, helping to modernize and democratize the review process. Well, there might be some notions like, will AI replace the peer review? Well, there is quotation that says that AI will not replace teachers. It is the teachers who doesn't use AI who will be replaced. So the same with with that maxim for reviewers. AI cannot replace reviewers. It is the reviewer who doesn't know how to use AI as an assistant who will be replaced. Do you believe that? So you can comment on it by sending your reaction in the chat box. So where are we now? We are now wrapping up. We will now have the conclusion and the reflection of the matter. Next slide. So what are the summary or the key points we have in our discussion this day? Peer review stands as a cornerstone of scientific communication, ensuring that research findings are accurate, credible, and ethically sound. Throughout this lesson, we explored its essential role in validating research, preventing misinformation, and upholding scholarly standards. We also examined the detailed steps of the peer review process, the responsibilities of reviewers, and the challenges that can hinder its effectiveness, such as bias, delays, and suppression of novel ideas. Finally, we looked at potential reforms and innovations that could make peer review more transparent, constructive, and adaptive in the digital age. Next slide. So what is now the future of peer review? As the scientific community continues to evolve, so too must the systems that safeguard its integrity. The future of peer review will likely be shaped by a combination of technological advancements, increasing calls for transparency, and a greater emphasis on inclusivity and fairness. Open science initiatives, AI assisted reviewing, and evolving publication models all point toward a more dynamic and responsive system. By embracing reform while preserving core values of rigor and accountability, peer review can continue to be a vital instrument for advancing knowledge and maintaining public trust in science. Last slide. Someone has said great discoveries are not the result of a single genius, but the result of collective minds scrutinizing and refining ideas. As we conclude today's session, I encourage each of you to reflect on the critical role that peer review plays not just in our own work, but in shaping the future of scientific discovery. Great discoveries are not the result of a single genius, but the result of collective minds scrutinizing and refining ideas. Let's continue to embrace the spirit of collaboration and constructive feedback, as it is through this process that we can truly advance knowledge, uphold integrity, and drive meaningful progress in our respective fields. Thank you again for your time. Have a wonderful day.